Right. So, hello everyone. Good evening. You're welcome once again to today's session of the Python programming class. So, we started looking at functions. We looked at loops, and then we looked at conditional statements as well. So yesterday was more of in as much as we did a practical session, we still did a lot of hands-on, which is more of a it looked more theoretical because I was the one doing most of the work. So today we are going to look at now we are going to do this, and this time around you are all going to be allowed to follow through and then type it on your PCs as well. So I would share my screen briefly. Let me give me a moment. Hmm. Yeah, here we go. All right. If my screen can be seen, let me know. So continue. Can my screen be seen? Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, please. Yes, I can
Okay,
see
yeah.
it.
All right, awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's all start our Jupyter notebooks. Um, Go to the command prompt, then type Jupyter notebook. And for those that I give specific commands to start the Jupyter notebook, I use the commands that I gave you. So you can also join in the class. So before I go on, are there any questions or anything that you would want us to take a critical look today? Probably ones that you did not understand or you did not quite get when you worked on your own. Today's class is going to be strictly, practical. So you can all benefit from the class. So I want to know, are there any questions from yesterday or so far the class that we've had that you would want us to look at briefly before we start the class? Any questions at all? Okay. So I would create another file, and this time around I'll call it functions and loop 2. We had a version 1 already, so so we call it functions and loops. Let's call it v2. So the previous one will be version 1. Let's rename it. So are there any questions? Any questions at all? I want to address some of your concerns before we start. And like I said, this class has to be very interactive. So if you have any concerns, any questions, just raise them, all right? Lift your hand and I'll call you and I'll find out what your challenge is and has been. It could be with the array slicing, it could be anything. Any questions at all? So should I take it that we all understand? Yes, can we have a recap on fun? Yes, that's the plan. Today is going to be just functions and loops again. I want us to build a code that is going to take student information and then give them, score them, and like provide something like a terminal report for each student. We would work on something like that today. Today is going to be more comprehensive. We are going to go through it so that the teachers amongst us, if you want to do something like create something that can help you mark your scripts and all that, it's going to be very easy. The whole idea of learning programming is to make your work easy, right? So instead of using Excel and entering everything, you just write a code and we'll just be looping through them and doing all the work for you. Okay, so no questions. All right. So then if that's the case, I'll go over I'll recap what we did last time, yesterday. So yesterday we started with defining functions. Okay. And I mentioned that in Python, to initialize the definition of a function, you type the def here. When you do that, Python recognizes this as you are about to start writing a function. So let's call it, let's look for something that we can easily do. Okay, so for example, you work at a restaurant and what you want to do is anytime someone logs onto your website, you want to print something for the person to welcome that person, right? So we can call it welcome note or something, whatever. So what it takes is the person's name, right? Then what do? We now bring the descriptive statement, which would help people understand what exactly the code does. So we just start with our three double quotes, then end with our three double quotes. I always say that it's good practice to always close whatever you open so you don't forget, which might crash the code. It's very important. All right, so we say this function displays a greeting message to user of the app or something. So you can put this in an app or something, right? All right, so now the next thing is the parameters. So usually some people write it params, some people write it parameters, people write input parameters. You use whichever one works for you or makes you understand your work better. Okay. So under the input parameters, you say it takes name. So the name is a string of user's name. That's all. And what does it return? None. Returns nothing. Okay. Now, in our next line, we say greetings. Let's just use maybe welcome note. Welcome note is equal to, we start with hello, then we bring space, and then we add the name of the person. Okay. Then we start with the name, and then we say, we put a comma, and we say, welcome to Judy's Diner or something. Maybe that's how you call it. Then we drop it here, and we return nada, right? So we run this. So this is our first function, all right? And we see that for this function, what it does is that it displays a greeting message to user of the app. To users, let me get this, all right? Of the app, right? So in case you don't know what goes on within this function, for example, you've created this within your utils file where you just call the functions from, right? All you have to do is you just type help into bracket, this function name and what is going to pop up for you. So this this really helps. So for programming, if you are using any module and you don't understand, or you want to know, you want to get the documentation of that module, all you have to do is just type help and then the module's name or the function's name. And the information here will display. So in our case, you see, this is the name of this is the function. It takes as input name. And our greetings that we wrote shows perfectly for the user to see. Okay, good. Now we try to run the function. So let's say James visits. Okay, so this is something that you can do. Okay, an example of this is you say James. Okay, Howard. Let's just use Howard visits. We run this, and what happens? Nothing happens. Can someone tell me why nothing happens? Anybody tell me why nothing happens when I run this? Can I be heard? I feel like I'm alone in this class. Nothing happens. Yeah, Morel, because of the quotes, uh, not necessarily. Very good. We did not tell it to print. We did not tell it to do anything. So it does nothing. As simple as that. So what we have to do is we have to tell it to do something. And what do we want it to do? We just save it. So what do we want? What we want to do is we say print into bracket what? Welcome note. Voila. Then we run this. So now what happens is if we go back and we run this, it does for us. Hello, Howard. Welcome to Judy's diner. Sorry. So you see how it works. You have to prompt it because we are not returning anything. Another example would be, let me comment this out. Okay. Then I say return this. Let's see what happens when we run this. You see, it does the same thing. It does the same thing. So now the difference is that if we print it out like that, we may not be able to save this information because the moment you print it out, it's gone. It is no longer something that can be used later on. But if we return it as a value, now we can use this value for whatever we want to use it for. Okay. So let me give you an example. All right. So then now let's have two of them. Okay. Same. Okay, I'm just going to change the same function. Same. But the difference now is instead of printing it out, I will rather return it. See the difference? So now this one prints out, this one prints it out, and this one returns the string. Okay. So now let's check out the difference between the two. Let me call this one version 1. Okay. We call this version 1. So now we have this one that prints out the information, and this one that returns some value, which is a string, which is this string. Okay? Hello plus name plus da 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 da. All right. So now what we want to do is maybe we just don't want to run. We want to probably do something else. Okay. In programming, a lot of things come up whilst we are doing stuff. So you always have to keep an open mind towards it. Now, if we run welcome notes, it gives us this. However, if we run version 1, nothing happens. Sorry. Oh, let me copy this one as well. This is just telling me that it's a function and it's not a variable. So I just have to change that. So version 1. Oh, okay. So version 1 also returns something. Okay. You see, when we run this, it does the same thing. When we run this, it does the same thing. But notice the difference. This prints out the information. And this one tells you that it is a string. It is bringing out a string because it shows you the quotes at the edges. All right. So now let's save it. Say we call it greetings. 1, greetings, view 1 will be this. Okay. And then another one, the whole thing, v2. But then we are going to use this instead of that. You see, they both do the same thing, right? But when I run this, it still prints out something for me. But when I run this, nothing happens because it saves whatever results I have in this variable. Okay. So now watch what happens. If I run version 1, there will be nothing in that variable because nothing was returned. Yeah, we did not return anything. So it becomes an empty variable, even though we've initialized it. Okay. Now let's try this and see what happens. Now this one shows that we have something in there. So the difference with what we are doing is with the print, it just outputs it and nothing gets saved. But with returning this variable, something gets saved when you assign a variable to it. Okay. When we run it individually, you notice that they worked. They all give us the results we are looking for. Albeit probably different data types, but what we have here, once we assign it to variables, now the results here gets lost. So in order to save results, you can either choose to return something. If you don't want to save it, then there's no need to return anything, right? So another example that I would want us to look at is defining a function that does something, okay? So maybe we have a function that, let's see, performs a certain arithmetic, okay? We want to say, let's call it a function of an area, okay? So let's call it area, function area or something. So we start with our keyword def, then we call it um, calculates area, okay? And I think area, we can choose to have area. Let's start with a rectangle, which is what length times breadth. So in this function, we will take length, breadth or width, depending on which language, it doesn't matter. So it takes length and width. And inside this, what we do is we would write our usual descriptive statements. So we say this function computes the area of a rectangle. Okay. Then we go to input params. We say length. An integer or a float point number. Right. Next one is width. It's pretty much the same thing. So we just write so finally turn. It returns the area of a rectangle. Right. Then inside we write our function area is equal to our length times width. Right? And what do? We return what? Area. If I'm going too fast, let me know. Are there any questions up until now? Are there any questions?
Dr. Johnson, I would like to know,
Okay.
with the length, is it always that you put in a string, or we can just go and put in the integer like 20 or 15 straight, or do we have to always state an integer or a float point number? Do we have to do that, or we can just go straight to give it a number or an integer?
So when you are writing a function, what happens is if you put a number here, any number here, what happens is that you restrict yourself to just that number. It wouldn't change when you are working. So what happens is that you need to leave for a function. This is just a placeholder. Okay. So when we call the function, you would see how we do it. So this is just telling you that whatever value is here is the length. That is what I'm using here. And whatever value is here is the width. So what you see here is just telling you that I am taking certain values from you. And that value, the one that you see here is the length. And the one you see here is the width. That's all. So when we call this function, that is when we put in the values. So this is just defining that function, okay? It is just telling you that whatever I'm going to do, I would need two values, okay? One value is the length and one is the width. And if I bring them here into this function, this is how I'm going to use them to perform the arithmetic that I'm looking for, okay? So let me run this. Now, let's call this function, okay? So it comes down to what you are saying now. So here, you can choose to put the values directly 3 or 6 this way, and you run it, and it gives you the results. Or you can choose to define your own function, your own variables, like length. You can choose anything. Length is equal to 3, and width is equal to 6, right? Then now you call this function Then you put length first. Then you put width. And you run this. So when you run this, it gives you the same thing. So you can choose to enter the values directly like you want, or you can choose to create variables and assign them the values and put the variable names in there. So it's up to you, whichever one works for you. Okay. So this is a very simple example of how you can call these functions. Yes, Sham.
Yeah, I want to ask in the definition, the first return and the other return. I want to know the difference between the two.
Which one? Which definition?
Yeah, just this one, the one that we are calculating the area.
Oh, this one. Yeah.
Yeah, just the recent one. Yeah. So we say we have the first return where we define as the area of a rectangle. Then there is another return in the green, which is area. So I want to know the difference in the role that they play.
Oh, okay. So this return here is just describing what would come out of the function. It has no it has no executable, function. Okay, it doesn't execute. This is just for information. If I remove everything here, okay, the function will still work. You see this? I run this. Let me run it again so you see 21. Now, if I run this, it still works. So the information you are seeing there has a purpose, okay? And the reason for that purpose is, now, let's say I have this function, okay? And somebody else picks my code. He wants to use this, or maybe I have converted this function into a software, and somebody is using that software. But the person does not, or a module, or whatever, and the person does not know what this function does. You see, because I'm using very simple functions like calculate area, it is easy for you to comprehend. But there are some very, very complex functions that you may not understand what they are doing. So what I put there is just to help you know what the code is doing. So for example, you see now that I have removed it, right? If I type help, and I put this in there, right? And I run, see what happens. There is no information about what this function is doing. Nada. Nothing tells me what the function is doing. It just gives me the function and that. Okay. So if I am somebody that do not have access to this or something, right? I may not understand what it's doing. However, in case, let's look at this when we do it this way. Now, when we have this, okay, let me run this again. Now let's go back to help and see what happens. You notice that now it gives me information, and that return you are talking about is here. So this is only for information purposes. What you are seeing here within these 3 double quotes, all these are just for information, not for execution. Okay. So if you look here now, you can see that it is telling me what the function does. Before, when I removed this, what happened was there was no information here. Sham, are you clear on that now?
Yes, please.
Okay, awesome. All right, Augustine, your hand is up.
It's also similar to what my brother just asked. Me for the I was having a perception that comment there, this function compute the area, that's right in there. I thought is the one that gives the function what to do.
Oh, okay, I understand. So I get your point. So this is not what it gives. See, this is English, like this is our English language, not a computer language. So this is to inform somebody else, like an individual that uses your app. and wants to understand what this program does. So if I remove this, that function will do the same thing. What is actually doing the work is this line. This is what is doing the work. Okay, so these ones are just words to tell somebody that this is what my code is doing. That's all. So you can choose to bring it, or you can choose not to bring it.
So it is like a comment, right?
Yes, more or less like a comment, but it's usually called a documentation.
Documentation.
Yes,
Okay.
so this is the documentation of the app. That's why I gave you an example. If you remember, we used, you see, we used help, okay? Now, you don't understand what help does, right? We don't know what help is doing. So if you want to find out about what help is doing, let's ask help to explain what help is doing. You see what it's telling us? It is telling us that help is on the helper model, all right? Define the built-in help. This is a wrapper around helps that provides a helpful message when help is typed at the Python interactive prompt, calling help at the This is what it does. Starts an interactive help session. You see, prints help for the Python project thing. So you understand. So for help, this is the documentation. So if you go inside this helper function, you will see this information that I have here within these three codes, double three codes. You understand? It's the same. So basically what help does is that it goes into your function and then picks the information that is within the opening three quotes and the double quotes and the closing double quotes. I hope, Augustine, that answers your question as well.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah.
So now we notice that if we want to calculate the area, this case, it only calculates the area of a rectangle. What if we want to choose we want to write it such that it can calculate area for someone, that area of a rectangle for someone that is looking for a rectangle, and area of a square, someone that's looking for a square. Rectangle and square are similar, but yeah. And then, square is another form of a rectangle, but it just have equal sides. Then you want to find the area of a circle as well, but you don't want to write another function, but you want to put it such all of them be within the same. Someone, yes, thank you. We are with you on the subway. We will get home together. Don't worry. All right. So
Thank you.
So what we are doing now is, instead of having it doing only the area of a rectangle, we want it to do for area of a circle as well, right? So now what we do is we are going to have this function again, and then we put it here because we don't need this information anyway. We put it here. Now what we want to do is we want to have that the user can choose between R rectangle for rectangle and S for square or something. Or we can even choose for the user to write rectangle or the user to write square. Okay. So what we do is now for the area of a square, what do we need? I think it's pi r squared. Okay. So then it means that we need radius. So another thing we will need here is radius. Then another thing we need is what type of polygon or what type of a shape are we looking at? Okay. So in that case, this type is going to tell us whether it's a sphere or, sorry, it's a circle, a sphere, rectangle. You can do as many as you want, but this is just a simple example where we are going to look at only rectangle and a square. Sorry, a rectangle and a circle. Okay. So what we do now is, here now becomes area of a rectangle. Okay. Then the next one will be area of a square, of a circle. All right, and that is what we would say pi r squared, right? So it is, we would look for pi. So pi is an inbuilt function. We have to import math to get the pi function. So we can say, or if you want and you don't want to import math or anything, you just go online and we find out the value of pi. You just type it, and then we have this. Pi is 22/7. So we are going to use 22/7, right? So we don't have to go through anything. So now we say that pi, which is into bracket 22/7 times our radius, which we have here, okay? You say radius. Oh, yeah. Radius squared. Let me do it this way. I like to separate it. All right. So squared is writing the multiplication sign twice. This is how you write squared in Python. All right. So basically, this is pi, which we all saw. We can choose to import a module, but let's work with this for now. 22/7 times the radius squared. Okay. But how would we know what the user is looking for? So then now let's bring an if statement where if the user puts the type to be area of a rectangle, it does only the area of a rectangle, okay? And if the user puts an area of a circle, it does differently. So what we can do is, okay, we say if type, which is what we have put here, okay, is equal to, we can do this, R, or type. You can choose as many of them as you want. If you want your user to have the free will to choose whatever they want, or you can choose rect, based on the number of types you want the user to, options the user to have, right? So the user can either type only R and they will see it as a rectangle, or type the entire word rectangle. Okay. Do this. Then now we make it a daughter of this so that this runs only when this works. Okay. Then we come to the next one. If you can choose if, or you can choose elif, but in order to show that this is not dependent on this, you can have another if statement. Okay. And then you say, write C. I always think of sphere in my head. All right. So then we have circle. Yeah. Then we push this one in. But what is going to happen is that you notice that if we choose these names, okay, sorry, area, we choose these names, what is going to happen is that if we are done now, what we have to do is we only want to return area, but we have area of a rectangle, area of a circle. So now what we can do is, then if this one is what runs, then area should be equal to this. Okay? Or if this one is what is going to run, then area should be equal to this. Now, who can tell me why I did it this way? Based on your understanding of what we have been doing so far, who can tell me why I did it this way? Anybody? just feel free. You know the class is always interactive. Feel free. Who can tell me?
Doc, I was thinking you did it this way because if you don't state them in when you call them, you're going to get an error.
Very good.
Because
so if you don't, sure, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, please.
No, I'm listening to you. You go ahead.
If these parameters are not stated in, when you call the code, you are going to get an error.
Yes, that's a good observation. So what is happening is that the return here, you cannot put return under these ones. Okay, so if you put return and you put rectangle here, put area of circle here, what is going to happen is that if the user chooses R or rectangle, right, what is going to happen is it was going to give you an error because this code will not run. But because you want to only return area, okay, then in that case, if the user wants the area of a rectangle and he puts R or rectangle here, then area now becomes the area of a rectangle, okay, which we are going to churn out here. If the user puts a C or the word circle, then the area now becomes the area of a circle. So then you bring it out here. I could have easily put area here, okay, and then forget about this line, but that could cause confusion. So I just want to distinguish between the two, that this area is that of a rectangle and this is that of a circle. And I put all of them together like that. All right, so now we have to update our documentation. Okay, we can choose not to update it, but I feel that since we have extra literacy, let's bring it out. So now we would say radius. Okay, the radius of a circle, right? And we have another line. We say type of shape whose area is being calculated, right? Cool. So now we have something like this. So what is going to happen is that if the person puts this as a circle, he does not need to bring length or width because a circle has no length, a circle has no width. Okay. So what is going to happen is that in order to make sure that you don't make any mistakes, we first of all initialize all these values to none. Okay. So we just say this is none. Okay. The reason for that is, okay, let me not do it first so that you can see why I did it this way. So we run this. We have our function beautifully written. We have used our if statements and all that, okay? So now let's call this function. Or let me give it version 1. Returns the area of a shape, not a rectangle. We run this. So basically, now we call this and see what is going to happen. I give it length is 3, width is 6, and because it's not a square, right? It's not a circle. Radius has to be something. We don't need the radius, so you can just put none there. And here you put the type. You put say R, because you are not working with a circle. When you run this, it gives you the results. But notice that if I didn't know that this function takes all of these types, I would have an error. Okay, so maybe I didn't, because I think it's not a circle. I don't bring this. See what happens. Going to give me an error. It will tell me that there's an argument missing. Okay, so in order not to give, for example, if I choose circle, okay, so for a circle, I don't need the length, I don't need the breadth. Okay, I only need the radius. And I run this. It's still going to give me an error. These types are missing. So what you do now is, okay, you initialize these values and tell them that for now, let them all be none. Okay, so that if the user forgets or the user does not wish to bring it, the code will still work, right? Okay, so this one also needs to have a default. So let's just put none for all of them. All right, so now what we do is that we are saying all of them are none. So now if I am working with a rectangle, okay, all I have to do, like a circle, all I have to do is just say my radius is equal to 5. And I run this. Oh, sorry, I have to put type as well. Okay, I run this. It gives me an answer now. So there is no need for me to put all these value, all these length and things there, because now I've already initialized them to be none. Okay, similarly, if I want for a rectangle where I put R, right, what happens is that I can only do length here. I'll say my length is equal to 3 and my width is equal to 6. And I run this. It still works for me, no error. Okay. So this is an example of how you initialize certain, variables within a function. So I can choose to put my own values here. So if the user does not provide any value, it will still give you a result. So this is another way of doing things such that your code does not crash and give you error all the time. You can choose to initialize values ahead of time. Okay, so you don't have your code crashing. So now you see that we have defined a very simple program that calculates the area. So based on what you choose, right, it does that for you. Yes, Eugene.
Thank you. Please, you see, initially when we had not put the none, we had not put the initial values at none, right?
Yep.
And then we were calling for the code. We could just put in the value. So we know that we are working with length, and we are working with maybe rectangle. So we need the length and then the width. So we're able to just put in 6, 3, then none for the radius, and then the type.
Yep.
And it was working perfectly. But now, since we made the initial values none, we had to type length equals this, width equals this first before it works, right?
Yep.
Why is that?
Okay, so even before, okay, the example with this example, okay, we didn't have to type anything here, right? Do you agree, Eugene?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is what you are saying. So similarly, here, let me put a code here. I could choose this same code, this same function, right? Put it here. And I do this. So if I know the documentation of this code, and I know it takes length and width, I could similarly write this here. And then say length is equal to 3, width is equal to 6. This is the same as this, right? If I run this, it's going to give me a result. So all I'm telling it is that, so in this case, right, if you are sure of this, if I even change their places and I bring length here, okay, let me just leave this here. Let me write another line. So here, look at this. So if I interchange the length with the width, okay, what is going to happen is that because it's a rectangle and it's just multiplication, it wouldn't change anything. But if it's something that there's a division or something, right? The problem is if I interchange this, it's going to give me an error. It's going to give me a problem. I will show that to you later. So what is going to happen is that if, for example, I do this here, and I do this, right? What is happening now is length has become 6 and width has become 3. Okay? You get the difference?
Yeah.
So we can rerun this. Length has become 3, width has, but if you initialize it this way, it doesn't matter where you put length.
Yeah.
If you do it this way, you understand, it doesn't matter where you put length. Because you've said that you've given it that length is equal to 3. Either you put it at the end, you put it at the first place, it doesn't matter. It would still give you the result.
Yeah,
You
I get it. So I was saying that why is it that in the last code we've written, we cannot use this case, the first case, like we don't bring the length and then the breadth, but we cannot use 3 for, like, without. I don't know if you understand what I was saying.
I understand you can use it.
So just remove the length and then the width and let's see if it's gonna work.
You can use it, but then have to make sure that all the values are properly, initialized. So you can say the length is 3 because the first place is length, right?
Yes.
The second place is width 6. The third place is radius. We are not working with radius. So what do? We can put none or 0, whichever one you want to put there, because you are not even dealing with it. And the final one is what? The type. And the type, that you can choose R, right? Or C, depending on what you want to do. But in this case, because we are working with length and width, we are working with R. You put R there. It's going to work.
I thought you said since we have initialized the others with none, even if we ignore the radius, it's still going to work. That is what I was asking. So if we exempt the 0, I assume it is supposed to work, right?
No, the reason why it is not going to work is that it expects 1, 2, 3, 4 in this order. So if we ignore this, right, what is going to happen is that if you put R here, it is going to assume that the radius is R. Do you understand?
Wait.
Let me explain it to you.
I understand what you are doing now, but the issue is, you see, when, let's say in this case, in the first case, right, you see, you use length equals 3, width equals 6. We didn't bring anything concerning the radius, and we just say type equals R, and it worked. So I just want us to pick the same thing and say that the length is 3, we know, so it's 3. Width is 6, we know, and then we bring the type without bringing anything concerning this one, and it doesn't work. Is it because we have not assigned the length, width, and why is it?
Yes, I understand your question now. So you see, this is what you are talking about, right?
Yes, this is the same as the top one, right?
Yes. So run this, what happens? You get an error.
Yes.
Why do you think we have an error?
That is why what I'm asking.
Exactly. And that's what I'm explaining to you, that if we don't bring for this code, okay, this function that we've written, it expects that whatever you put at the first place will be the length. That is, if we do not bring this. What you put at the second place is what? The width. What you put at the third place is the radius. And the final place is what? The type. You understand? So if you write it this way, it is assuming that the first one is the length, second is the width, third is what? The radius. You get the difference now, because it does not see. You see, here's the thing. One thing about programming is that it does not understand things the way we humans understand it. So you as a human, when you see this, you know that, hey, this, that, because you understand the human language. But all these are converted to computer language. So it follows certain strict rules. Okay, so the code, the programming language, Python knows that whatever you put here, if we don't bring this, the first place is the length, width, radius, and type. So if we write this, what it's seeing is that now the first place is what? The length. Second is the width. It expects the third place to be what? The radius. But we have put type. So we are going to get an error.
Okay, so if you understand what you are saying, you mean that anytime we are not specifying length equals maybe this, width equals this, we should make sure that the inputs are for like
exactly.
this. Okay.
Exactly.
So when we are being specific about which one we are inputting, then that one we can ignore the other parameters because we have made it none in the initial.
Thank you. So this one, if you do, so I will give you an example. Okay. Let me just put maybe none or zero here. None. Let me do none here. And let me give you an example. Sham, I'll call you in a bit. Let me give, for Eugene's question, let me give a quick, let's define, what do we want to define? I want a divisor, so you understand. Something that divides. Okay, let's do maybe, I want a formula. Okay, the formula for density. What is the formula for density? Nobody can help me.
Mass over volume, I think.
Yes, good.
Oh.
All right. So mass over volume, sorry, let me just, and now we won't put any information. I want to quickly do this. So now we say density is equal to mass over volume. Just so you understand what this does. Okay, putting things there and putting nothing there. So then we return density, right? All right, let's run this. Okay. So look at something, okay? If I say density, sorry, into bracket 3, 6, see what happens. See the results I get, 0.5, okay? Now, same thing, 6 and 3. See what happens. You see the difference? What this is saying is that because I did not specify what the mass and what the volume is, the code is assuming that the first thing you have here is the mass. The second is the volume. So if you change the places, it no longer sees it that way. Here is because we're doing multiplication, so the answer was equal, so you didn't see the difference. But now let me do it this way, so you understand it better. Now I say mass is equal to 3, okay? And volume is equal to 6, right? This is just an example. And I run this. It says 0.5. The same thing, okay? I bring it here. Let me interchange this one and bring it here. It still gives me 0.5. You see the difference? Eugene?
Yes, please. Yes.
You see, so if I tell it specifically that mass is equal to 3, regardless of where I put mass, it is 3.
Yeah, I get it.
But if I don't specify it, what is happening is that it is going to assign it based on the position of where the thing is.
Yeah, I got it.
So that is why in this case, we did not need to bring radius
Yeah.
because radius has already been defined, and we are telling it that this is length, this is width, and this is type. So whether I bring radius or not, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Sure. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. So that is the difference. So you can choose to either do it this way, leave it ambiguous and allow the code to decide based on the position, or you can specify this. That is why some of the time, well, most often it's important to know the documentation on the code. So you know that this mass is representing this first place is mass and this other place is volume. So you don't make certain mistakes. All right. All right, Sham, your hand was up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, is there a way that you can write the code that it will read the parameters from like the reverse order?
Is there a way to do what?
Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm asking that because of the order in which we wrote the parameters, length, width, and in that order to type, I'm
Mhm.
I'm asking if it's possible. There is a way that the code will be written to go in the reverse order. Like if you write the code and you input the parameters, it can read the variables or the parameters that you have given from the reverse. That you don't need to go through all these that we are doing. You need to specify mass to be here, volume to be here. I don't know if you are getting me.
So if I get you correctly, right, you want it to automatically understand how you can do this in reverse order without the interference of us, the programmers. And
Yes,
like I
yes.
said, most of these things are instruction based. Programming is strictly instruction. It is what you tell it to do that it does. It's different from AI. Even AI does what you tell it to do, all right? But in this case, you have defined a certain function, okay? And you have told it that the first place is mass and volume. So I can interchange this to volume and mass. It doesn't matter. This definition will hold the same, okay? So an example is, I can put this, let me write another function based on this. And I would answer some of the questions in the chat briefly. I can do it this way. All right? It doesn't matter because the formula says mass over volume, right? So if I run this, what we did here is this was mass and this was volume. So let's repeat the same thing. So now this is our volume and this is our mass. Oh, sorry, yes. So what is going to happen is that if we run this, you are going to get 2. Okay. And if we run this, we are going to get 0.5 because we have interchanged their position. Okay. But if we go this route, okay, we use this, regardless of which position we put it, we still have the same answer. You understand? Regardless of which position we put it. So when it comes to programming, it's about what you want to achieve and how best you can achieve it. That is why at the beginning of this class, I mentioned that there is no one way of doing things when it comes to programming. There are several ways you can go about it. Okay? Several ways, depending on what you aim to achieve. So that is programming for you. So some of these things, if you want to do it automatically to pick certain things, then you have to write certain instructions telling you that, hey, whatever you see here, do the reverse or do that. So that is where you go more into the comprehensive programming. I hope that is clear, Sham.
Yes,
All right.
please. Yes, please.
Yeah, awesome. So, Royal, can you go over the reason for using none in the function. Okay. So, well, let's go back to this. Okay. And see what happens if we don't have none here. So for me, I would rather show you than tell you, so that you can actually see why we do certain things. So when we do this, it means that we have to force ourselves to put values. Even if we don't want to put values, we have to put values, okay? Because these are just placeholders. They don't contain anything at this point. So if I run this, right, see what happens when I do this. This same one that worked before is going to tell me radius is missing. The reason being that radius needs to be inputted, whether I like it or not. Okay? The reason why I did that is so you can see that, for example, I am not looking for the area of a circle. So I don't have radius. I only have length and width. So I want to be able to use only length and width. So in this case, if we want this code to work, okay, what is going to happen is that we would have to then give all of them. So then now it means that we have to put length, which is 3, radius, which is 6, and we have to still show that r is none. Sorry, radius is none. Because if we don't bring radius as none, the code is not going to be executed. You see? So then it means that we have to force ourselves to type radius, even though we don't need radius. Similarly, here, we may have to type as well and say radius. Sorry, you don't need to put radius. You just have to put none. I've explained that already. And we run this. Before it's going to work. Sorry, I have to put radius here. Because I'm naming all of them, I have to name this one as well. All right, before it works. But this is going to be too tedious. So what if I want a circle? Okay. Let me put this one here. I want to calculate a circle. What is going to happen is that, Control C. I like to copy and paste. What is going to happen is that I have to put none here. An example, let me just put a simple example. My radius is 4. I want to work with a circle. What is going to happen is when I run this, I'm going to get an error. So what I have to do is I have to say that length is none, width is none. Now, if I run this, I'm going to get a result. You see how tedious this becomes. So every time I have to put none. So imagine if I am running it for several ships. I have to always remember to put none in there. Okay. But in order not to be repeating all these challenges going forward, an example will also be this. Let me just put this same one again. All right. If I don't put anything here, if I don't put anything here because I don't have anything, right? See what is going to happen. If I run this, I'm going to get an error. Oh, sorry. Why is it still working? I've already initialized length here. Whereas I put length somewhere, so that's why it's still working. I had length and breadth, length somewhere, so that's why it has already been saved inside. So it still works. So basically, what I'm saying is, if I don't put anything here, all right, let me remove any length. Let me restart this kernel so that it would wipe everything away and I would run it again because I've already saved length here. So it is showing that length is working, but let me just wipe everything. So I go to files and there's restart kernel. Yes. So restart kernel. It will clear every output. All variables will be lost. Yes, that's what I want to do. All right. So kernel has been restarted. So everything I've done has been wiped out. So now let me come back to this equation, this function again. I run this function, right? So I do this. We've already done this. We've seen the result. We've done this. We've seen the result. We've done this. We've seen the results. Now let's try this. You see, it gives me an error because length is not defined, width is not defined. Okay, but I have to forcefully put something there. Even though I don't have anything, I have to still put something there. Okay, before I can get my results. Okay, so here I change the type to C and I have my radius to be 4 before I can get results. But I don't want that. So what I do now is, why don't I initialize all these ones to be none at the beginning? So it's like, at this point, because I want to be able to run it, let me just put none here for all of them. So that even if the user does not put any value, I would not get an error. Okay, so I run this. All right. Now you will notice that I do not need to specifically, okay, mention the length and width. Okay. For example, if I want to find the area of a circle now, based on what I've done here, right? Before I had to do this, but now let me just put it simply. Okay. Let me pick this. I come here. I remove all of this. And I run this. It still gives me results. But before, this would have not worked. Muriel, do you get it now?
Yes, please, I get you now.
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you.
So, just so you don't have errors, you just do this so that it works, makes your work easier. So going forward, now you don't have to be typing length equals to 9, then. No. Once you do this, it works for you. All right, Sham, your hand is up.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to ask that instead of initializing the parameters with none, is it possible
Mhm.
to just the length is equal to 0, width is equal to 0 throughout?
Of course, it's up to you. Whatever you want to put there, it's totally up to you. You can put 0, 0, 1, 5. This is what I chose to use. You can use 5, 6, 7, 8. So whatever you see here, the name I put here, you can choose your own name. Doesn't necessarily have to be length. But for me, in order to understand what I'm doing, I'll use length so that I can remember that I'm working with length and width. You can choose to write L, choose to write W. It is still going to work.
No, length equal to 0 instead of writing none, width is equal to 0 instead of writing none.
You can do the same thing. That's what I'm trying to make you understand. It doesn't
Okay.
matter. It doesn't matter. And here you can even put M or whatever you want in there. It does not matter. Right? If I run this, it's still going to give me the results. But see what happens. What if I make a mistake and I write R? You see, it gives me 0. But if I had made this, because I put 0, 0 there, right? Now let me do it this way. None, right? All of them are none. Now, if I make a mistake and I put R instead of 0, I put R instead of C, see what happens. it's going to give me an error telling me that non-type. So what happens is that it's a way of making me check myself so I don't make certain errors. That's why I put none. Okay. So you can choose whatever you want to put there. It's up to you.
Okay.
I hope that is clear.
Yes, please.
All right. So like these are some basic things that you have to know about functions. Now, let's try an example where we would do something a lot more comprehensive. So let's build an algorithm that actually scores students. Okay. So let's create, first of all, a dictionary where we have student name and then their score, name and score, name and score. Okay. I hope that makes it a lot more understandable. That way, when we are playing around with it, we can do something. So we say student scores, right? Now, what we want to do is, what is the name of the student? So we say John, right? He scored 89. Mary scored 92. Jane scored 56. Kwame scored 48. Kwame is a backbencher. And then we have Abdul. If your name is Abdul here on the page, I don't mean you. If your name is Jane, John, or Mary, this is not about you, okay? Just so we are clear. All right, we have Abdul. Abdul scored 72. So this is like a simple dictionary. We have the name, which is a key, right? And then value, key, value, key, value, key, value, right? So what we want to do now is we want to create a scorer, right? So what we do now is we can start by saying define exam, what do you call it? Remarker. Sorry, remarker instead. So what it takes, right, is a score. So we are not going to put any documentation or whatever there. We just go straight to the point. Now we say that if score, whatever value we put in here, which is score, okay? If score is equal to, sorry, I saw someone mention, what's the difference between this and single one? I'll talk about that soon. If score is 90 or above, is greater than or equal to, is it greater than or equal to? Yes. If score is 90 or above, print excellent. All right. Else if, which is elif. Why does it keep shifting? Score. Oh, I see why there's a problem. I forgot to bring the closing bracket. That's why it keeps giving me this closing quotes. Yeah. So now this works. All right. is greater than or equal to 80. Right, print. Very good. Right. Then the next if score is greater than or equal to 70, you print good. So if score is greater than or equal to 60, you print pass. And then everything else is filled. All right. So we don't return anything, right? Now we are good to go. This is a simple scorer. Okay. We have this. So now what we want to do is we want to check the scores of each student. Okay. So for example, for the dictionary, if you want it, you see for a list, right? We used the indices to get it. But for a dictionary, you use this. This is the key to get this value. So this is the key to get this value, okay? It is different from the list. So now, let's go to student score. So for example, if you want the scores, okay, of Mary, you put it this way, it would give us the score of Mary, which was what? Which is 92, okay? We want the score of Abdul. We just put it in here. And it gives us that, okay? So now, what do we want to do? We want to give remarks for each of these students, all right? So basically, what we have to do now, I hope it is clear to this point. Before I go on, are we on the same page? Okay, what is the difference in using single and equal? Yes. Yes, thank you, Kelvin. That's a very good answer. Very, very good. Okay, so the difference between if, I said that if is always the starting. So it is like you want to compare if. So if this happens, then what next? Else if. Elif is like if it's like you are starting to compare something, okay? Okay, so check if this money is 100 cedis. Okay, the person checks and the person says no. Because you didn't ask the person to tell you what amount it is. Check if this amount, let's say you give the person 5 cedis. And you say, check if this money is 100 cedis. Okay. The person says, no, it's not 100 cedis. Okay. Else, check if it is 50 cedis. It says no. Else, check if it is, you understand? So else if it's like, else check if, so it's like elif. So it's like a precursor. It's like it's what follows an if statement. The if starts the conversation, and then whatever follows is the elif till you get to the last person and you say else. That's all. I explained that in the class last time. So at this point, are there any questions before we go on about the dictionary and about the any questions? Any questions? Are there any questions? Today the class is too quiet. Are you guys in the weekend mood or what? All right, Ellen, your hand is up.
Okay, so let me put it this way about the difference between if and elif. So it's like when you start some sort of you have a condition that you want to verify if it's true or not. So first you state your initial condition with an if statement, right? And then you want to say that, okay, I have an initial condition which I've stated with an if statement, but if this initial condition is not satisfied, then consider this other one. So it means else, if your initial condition is not satisfied, consider condition 2, that is the elif. So if you have multiple conditions you want to compare after your initial condition, for each of those, you are going to use elif. Then you are saying that after you've considered all the conditions I've listed prior, the last thing you will do is, if it doesn't meet any of these initial conditions I've satisfied, then there's one last condition that you should assign it to automatically, and that's the last else that you are going to use. So I kind of think that this is a way to like understand the whole distinction between if and elif. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. So this is basically how we do the segregation, based on certain things. So yeah, that's right. Thank you for that. Augustine, your hand is up.
Yeah, doctor. For here, you only
Okay.
put return. You didn't add anything to the return.
Yes, because I'm not returning anything.
Wow.
So I'm not returning anything, all right? And I could choose to do it this way, or I could choose to do it this way. Let me show you another way we can do this. For me, I like to play around. Whatever question you mention, you raise, I would write it for us to see. So let's call this. I've explained this sometime. So now instead of print, okay, let's just put remark. Okay. Right? So this is how we are going to do it. So instead of print, we are going to put remark. For those that have thought before, I'm sure they understand this part quite well. So what you have to do now is you return remark. Okay. So the difference now is that for this one, we we print the results. We print the remark. Okay. But for this, we actually bring out a value called remark. Okay. The difference with this is this prints, but it doesn't return any value. But this actually returns a value. And within that value is what we are looking for. Okay. So let's see how the two works. All right. So now we have two types, the one that prints and the one that returns a remark. Okay, so now you with me?
I'm following.
Yeah, awesome. So now let's pick the first one, which is this exam remarker. All right, put it here. And then we want to get a remark on Abdul's score. Okay, we run this. It says Abdul's score is good. And what is Abdul's score? It is 72, which is between 70 and 79. So it's good. Okay. Now let's use the same one and call this function remarker version 1, which actually returns the value. Okay. So it does the same thing. Okay. But the difference comes in, okay, when you want to save the information that you have here. because this one returns no value, you cannot save the remark. But because this returns a value, you can save the remark to use the remark later on. So for example, if maybe you are going to print a report later on, okay, then you would have to save Abdul's remark, so that when you are calling the function to print out the report, you tell the function that it should pick Abdul's remark and print it assigned to Abdul. Okay, so that is the difference. I think I talked about this a number of times here. When you return nothing and when you return something. So this is the same thing that we are doing here. Nothing has changed actually. So you can choose to just print out, or you can choose to return a value, depending on what you aim to achieve. Okay. So that is basically what we are saying now. Okay. But you notice that now we have all of these, right? If we want to get Mary, we have to come again and then put Mary. If we want to get Kwame, we have to come and put Kwame. It becomes tedious. So what do? We can choose to get an if state, so a for loop, to loop through this. Okay. And it will loop through all of this and give us the results one after the other. Okay. So let's do something. Now, what we are going to do is you create a for loop and we say for name in, or we can choose for score, whichever word works for you, in score, student score, right? Right? Give us this result. Let me see if this is going to give me the result that I'm looking for. Yes. So now the issue is that you have noticed that we are calling the instance of a function and comparing it to an integer. The reason being that if I do this, print, sorry, name, oh, what do we get? You see the difference? So now what it's doing is that it is picking the names, which is these keys, okay? It's picking these keys. That's the beauty of dictionary. Now it's picking these keys, okay? But that's not what we want to do. We want to get the score of these people and then check them, okay? So now what we are going to do is that we are going to put it in here and we will say, do you remember? Just like this, okay? Just like this. So let me put that in a different line so we appreciate what we are doing. Yep. So this gives us the names. And here, what we want is the score. We don't want the name. So now what we can do is we put it here like that. And what do we get? We get the scores. So now we want to write the report such that when the student sees it, it would mention the student's name and then tell us the remark of that student. Okay. So what do? Now we can change the print statement and use the function remarker as well to generate the information we need. So in that case, right, here is where Augustine's question plays a key role. Okay. So what we are going to do now is, let's start a for loop and say for name, sorry, I don't like typing because I make a lot of typos. Like that. I have this. So now what I have to do now is I want to print out the remarks. Okay. So I'll go and pick remarker like that from here, which we have already seen. Okay. And put it here. And now instead of just a single name, we have seen here that this can print the names for me. So instead of just choosing a single static name, right, I'll pick this name because I'm working with a dictionary, drop it here, okay? And then I run this. So you see that now, instead of giving me only one result, right, it has looped through all of these, what we have here, all of these. Okay, let me just write it here so we can see. Good. So what that's done now is that it has looped through all of these, and then it has told me that John's remark, because it's 89, it is very good. Mary's is 92, so it's excellent. Because 56 is less than 60, it is a failed remark. Because Kwame, from here, we can see that anything below 60, 59 and below are all failed from here. So 56 is failed, 48 is failed, and Abdul, which is 72, whose mark is 72 is good. But we notice that the results that this thing is giving us is not what we want to, right? Instead that we can say, oh, maybe John's remark is very good, Abdul's remark is excellent, that kind of thing, so that it will be more interactive, so that when I read it, when I'm reading this without seeing this, okay, I should know who is getting what. I hope to this point this is clear. Are we together?
No, please, again.
So you notice that, let me delete this. You notice that I had to go and copy this and run it here in order to understand whose mark is this, whose mark is this, whose mark is that. But I don't want to do that. I want to be able to see everything right from the onset without having seen this. So now what I do is, let me change the whole setup and print something a bit more interesting, okay? So how do I do that? I would come here and then say this same one that I have here, okay? Right? Now I would say print name, comma, I put this comma here as well. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's see how it turns out. Let's see how it turns out. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Voila. So you see what is happening? Because this exam here is already printing something out without me asking it to do. It has already printed very good, because in the code, we did not save it as a value. We only said print, So it is printing. So now it says John's remarks on the exam is none, 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 none. So yes, it is not working. I wanted this to be here instead. So then that brings me to why saving this remark is important. So now instead of using the version 1 that prints out and gives me this error, I am going to use what? Version 2, because this one returns no value. Okay, so now let me try the same thing for version 2, version 1, which is this. Where is it? Where is the function? Yeah, this one. Same thing. Okay. Now I run this. What do we see? We see that before, because we were not returning any value, it keeps giving us none, 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 right? But because now we are returning a value, that value is we're able to use that value to come up with this. So instead of only seeing very good, excellent, now I can put it in the form of a statement and say John's remarks on the exam is very good. Mary's remarks on the exam is excellent. You understand? So now, even without seeing this, I know whose remark is whose remark is what. But here, I wouldn't know unless I come here and come and check who is the first person, who is the second person, and all that. So this is how dictionary makes it a lot more beautiful. So now you see how beautiful this is. So instead of having all the there, this is how you see it. So let's make it even more beautiful. So instead of using the comma, which brings in the space, let me just use plus instead, so that I can have something more beautiful. All right, let me run this. Yep. Let me run this. So I hope it is clear to this point. Is it clear to this point? Any questions? Yes, Sham.
Please, can I see the V1? The exam remarker V1.
Yes. So V1 actually saves the remark as a variable and returns it. But this does not. It only prints out. So it returns nothing. That is the difference between the two. So it is good that Sham brought, I think Sham or Eugene, one of you brought out this question. Why this is that? So you see the difference. This is very important. Based on what you want to do, if you just want to print them out, you're good to go. But if you want to use them, then you have to save them as a variable so you can use them going forward. So this is how you see the difference between the two. Okay, Sham, your hand is up.
Yeah, I was lost with the loops. Like I don't really get it. So if you can go over it for me again, up to I think line, yeah, the loop.
Okay. So let's come back to this point. We have this. Okay, it's a dictionary. It has name and score, name, score, name, score, name, score. So this is the key, this is the value, key, value in that order, right? And what I want to do is that I want to give a remark to all these students based on their scores, okay? So looking at this and looking at that, we saw that here, we only print out the remark. But here, we save the remark into a variable called remark, which we bring here. All right. Now, we want to check the score of Abdul. This is how we do it. Okay. for a dictionary, if I want this, not like a list, I will use this, which is the key, to give me this. All right, that's the difference between a dictionary and a list. For a list, it would have used the index, but for a dictionary, you have to use the value. Sorry, the key. Sorry, you have to use the key. All right, so that's what we did here. So because I wanted to see the score of Abdul here, 72, this is how I call it, Abdul, and it gives me this. All right, now I've already initialized two functions. I'm sorry, I've defined two functions. What I want to do is I want the function to give a remark on Abdul's score, and that's what I did here. So give the remark. So I have two functions now, one prints and one returns. Okay, so this printed out good, but this returned a string called good, a string with these letters in them. Okay, now I want to see all the names that I have in the student scores. So what I did is I used the for loop, and I said I could use name, I could use X, I could use, if I use X, I'm going to get the answer. Okay. See Y. Okay, what is happening here? Name. Oh, okay. No, I have to print. Sorry. The last name stored in the code is name Abdul. That's why. So I ran this. You see, I use X. It works. I use Y. Print Y. It works. Whatever I put here is going to work. But I want to understand what I'm working with. So I put name. Okay. Name here. I put name here. Right? So what happens when I run this? It gives me the name. Okay. Then I want to see the scores, okay, of these students. So then we've already done this. If I want to see the score of Abdul, I put Abdul inside this quotes for this dictionary, which I have this dictionary here. All right. So let me just put the dictionary here so we can see it as well. So I ran this. Okay. So when I wanted only the names, right, I could put anything here. It's just a variable name. I tried for X, I tried for Y, I tried for Z, right? You saw it. It gave me the same results. So regardless of what I put here, it will give me results. But I want to understand what I'm working with. So I say name. It could be age. It could be time. It could be anything based on the data I'm working with, right? So when I do this, what happens is that it prints out the names for me. And because I know if I want the value of a certain key, which I've done here, this is the same thing I've done here. I put it in here, and instead of putting the individual names, now it's a loop. So I put the name that I have here in there, and it gives me all their values. So now you see that the first one here is John. The name is John, and the value is 89. So when I call the name, it gave me John. And when I call John's value inside, it gives me 89. So I just run the loop, and it loops through all of them, and it gives me these, right? So now what I want to do is I want to see the remarks. This is the function we've already written, remarker here. Okay, so what this remark does is that it gives me the remark, a remark on their scores. So now I already know how to get the, what do you call it, their keys. All right, this is the formula to get their keys. So what do? I just pass these keys just like I did here. Okay, to get this, pass it to it here. That's all. And then it churns this out for me. Okay, but I've noticed that without seeing this, I may not know who is the first person, who is the second, who is the third. So in order to make it a bit nicer, so that I don't have to see this to know what is happening. Then I run it this way. Okay, so I put a print statement and I say the name, which is the name that I'm looking at, remark on the exam is, and the remark that I'm getting here. Now we have two functions, exam remarker and then exam remarker 1. Remark only prints, it does not save, and remarker saves the data as a variable, because you can see the equal to sign. The equal to sign is just an assignment. It's an operator. It assigns this to this. Okay, it assigns, this is an operator that assigns, an assignment operator. And this operator here is a comparison operator. It makes a comparative analysis on both sides. So depending on what you want to do, you assign a certain operator to it, okay? So we have saved that. So we notice that when we run the one without saving the remarker, this is what we get. Because it does not return here. It does not return any results. You notice that we see none, 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 because it's returning nothing. But for the second one, this one returns remark, okay? So now what happens is that when I run this, it gives me the remarks. So that's the difference in what you want to do. So if you want to just print, you can go this route. And if you want to save this, you can just do it this way as well. So that is basically what I did. I hope, Sham, it is clear now.
Yes, please. It's clear. It's very clear. Thank you.
All right. All right. So are there any questions up until this point? Any questions? So this will be the final class on the, what do you call it? The loops, functions, and conditional statements. Any questions at all? The class, if you don't understand anything, just say, or if you understand something, explain what you understand. Today, each and everyone will have to talk. I've noticed that some people don't talk in class, so today I'll be calling you one by one to start talking. So if I mention your name, you will say something today. Andy, I can see you. Andy, say something today. Andy, can you hear me?
Doug, I can hear you. It's fine. It's fine. I just need to go through the process again and then make the practice personally so I can make sure that whatever has happened, I'm able to grasp it, but it's fine. There's no
Awesome,
confusion
awesome.
anywhere. Yeah.
All right, great, great, great. I like that. I have Abigail. Abigail, you have to say something today. I've not heard from you in a while. Abigail, are you there?
Yes, Doc, I'm here. I'm totally lost, so I'm going back to watch the videos and then catch up.
Okay, Abigail, wherever you are lost, okay, our job is to find you. Some of us are good at, finding lost people. We have a lot of people here. I'm sure Augustine can help, there's Apeu. There are some other guys that are very strong and can help. So if you have any challenge, just drop it in the chat so that we can help you out, okay? You don't keep quiet when you are lost, so we can find you, okay? All
All
right.
right, thank you.
Benjamin Edu, I want to hear from you. Benjamin, hey, I can see that people are running away from the chat now. People are running away because they don't want me to call them. Benjamin.
Yeah, hello, Prof. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, as I think we are also practicing over here. I think that from my side, there's no any confusion or contribution at the moment. I think I
Okay,
have to
good.
go practice. Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right, awesome. I'll call randomly Emmanuel Kofisie. Emmanuel Kofisie.
I'm
Don't
coming.
run away. Emmanuel.
Yeah, hello, Doc. Please, I will not run away.
Good one.
Yeah, I'm around. Actually, it's a good training, but I don't know if they're coding for some of us. So I'll follow I'll follow.
Coding is for everybody, my brother. Coding is for everybody.
So
You just take time and practice. Yeah.
I will also watch the YouTube videos but I wish like we could have gotten the recorded one like we had for the first one, because that one you can easily watch about this YouTube things. But anyway, I hope I'll get it and watch and try to see if coding is for me. But for now, I'm not sure of that.
Well, now coding is for everybody. Don't worry. We will make sure, even if it's not for you, we will imbibe it into you. Don't worry.
I will actually be happy about that.
All right,
Thank you very
good,
much.
Emmanuel. All right, so Eric Ando has spoken in my class. Eugene has spoken. Gabriel has spoken. Gertrude. Gertrude,
Yeah.
are you there? Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Gertrude.
here.
I want to hear from you.
Oh, I'm a bit lost because I have to get out a bit and come back.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the videos will be shared on YouTube, and I think I would request if it's possible to be shared like on the WeChat pages as well, so you can download directly and watch. If you have any challenge, you just drop it in the chat, so we help you out. Okay.
Okay. But
Awesome.
with me, I'm a data science student, so I actually know about Python programming. So I'm just here as, let me say, revision and an spectator, like kind of.
Okay.
So
That's great.
pardon me if I'm not so participating in the class. Pardon me. I'm just
No worries.
revising.
All right. Your time will come. We'll be doing exploratory data analysis and all that. So I'm sure that is where you'd also shine. So don't worry, your time will come.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually,
So, Doctor,
I know about the Python programming. Like this is what my course is literally about. Building of
Okay.
machine learning and deep learning models and all that.
Great.
So that is why.
Yeah. So can I assign you a role as one of the, my TAs that will be helping students when they have challenges? All right. Don't worry. No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah. So, Doctor, I want to ask this. So
Eric,
in a list,
just call Johnson for now, okay? The doctor, no. Yeah, no more
Oh.
to do.
Okay, all right. So in a list, when we were doing the list, you can call an index. Index, for instance, if you can go little top on this so that the dictionary where we started listing there.
Okay,
when you can go top little.
Let me create a list. Let me call it Eric's list. Okay. Just something simple.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So for instance, this Eric, when you want to call an index of, let's say, 4, we can just write Eric list maybe 1. Then we get the 4.
Exactly.
The index 4. Yes. 1.
Yes.
So my question is, in the dictionary, the dictionary, can we also use this methods to call an index or something in the dictionary?
Why not? Let's try it and see. All right. Nothing is wrong if you try it and see. All right. Let's try this and see what happens. You get the difference. It didn't say index error. It said key error. Here, let's say index 10. See the error we are going to get. Index error. You see the difference?
Okay. Yeah.
Because a list deals with indices. So if the index is out of range, it will give you an index error because it uses indices to get the elements within them. Okay? So if I bring back the 2 and I run this, I'm going to get the results. But dictionary deals with key. So every dictionary comes with a key. They come in pairs, key and value, key and value. Okay. So let me just show it here. So you see, this is the key and this is the value. Key and value. That's why it comes in pairs. That's why it's called a dictionary. They come in pairs. What is going to happen now is, if I want something in a dictionary, it does not use the index to find things. It uses the key. It has to be specific. So if you want Mary's, then Mary now becomes the key to help you find this value 92, which is attached to Mary.
Okay.
You get the difference. So now, if I put 0, I'm going to get an error. However, if I put Mary here and I run, it gives me a value because Mary is a key to the value 92. You understand?
All right.
So in dictionary, what happens is that the keys are always unique, but the values can be repetitive. I hope that answers your question, Eric.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. So let me quickly find one last person before we run away. Most of the participants are running away, but I would bring all of them. Isaac Osetu, I've not heard you speak. Isaac.
Yeah. I think it has been a very fruitful session. I've been learning a lot, but there has been a few challenges. But I think when I get to YouTube and I learn, I go over what you have been teaching us, I'll be able to get it well.
Okay. So that is why I keep saying, you see, everything that I'm doing now is a build-up of what we've done before. So if you don't practice, it might become difficult for you to catch on with the class, okay? You might finish this whole class and you might not have learned as much as you want. So just in a day, just take maybe an hour or two, practice some of the things we have. You will definitely come across some challenges. You put it in the chat. We have a conversation about it. That's where you get to learn. Programming is about practice, okay? Some of these things that I'm teaching you now was not certain things I learned. It's about how I was practicing it over the years. You get it? So practice. The more you practice, the more you know. Programming is like, I don't know. It gets to a point that it will be at your fingertips because you've practiced it so many times. You get it? So let's not be scared of programming. Once you understand the language, I feel like as it stands now, some of us are running away from Chinese language. It's not because it's because we cannot speak it. You understand? But as time goes on, if you understand the language, you're able to speak it. You know how to say Shishojena, you know how to say, Nizaina, when you sit in a taxi and the taxi driver is asking you Nigo, Nali, whatever, those things that I'll be worrying with, you start speaking some. Now you have the confidence because you've practiced over time. So that's what you have to do. Just practice and you would be great at it. Okay? I believe in all of you. You'll be great at it. It's going to work. So what I'll do is on Monday, I will drop an assignment again. And then I would want you all to go through those assignments again. We look at the list slicing again, and then we look at using the functions and then the loops again. Then if there are any questions, kindly try these assignments and put your questions in the chat, okay? Then we can all work on it, all right? So I'll pick one last person that I feel has not spoken. Kwame Anoche, before we go. Kwame Anoche, say something before we go. Kwame Anoche, are you there?
Doc.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, Kwame, I can hear you. Kwame, can you hear me? Oh, Kwame Ahuma Nenye. Yente Kwame Nka. Anyway, so On this
Hello,
note,
I can hear you. I was having issues.
okay, good. Kwame, say something. I've not heard you speak in the class.
Yes, yes. I'm just on it. I'm listening to you, and when it's time for us to talk, you will hear our voice. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. And where is Ninth? Your hand is up.
Yeah,
Ninth.
Doc. I was thinking. I was asking if you're going to send us today's notebook after the class.
I'll send all the notebooks to you today after the class. Okay. So play around them, and then if you have anything, you just let me know. Okay. All right. So on this note, I would bring the class to a close. I wish you a wonderful weekend. Some of you will be experiencing the cold, the winter cold. Some of you will be experiencing the warm. Wherever you are, just try to do your best. Have fun and practice. It's vacation. Whilst you are ordering your wine mice and you are eating your hot pots and all those things. Don't forget to take an hour or two off and practice Python. Okay, so we can all be on the same page going forward. All right. So have a wonderful weekend, everybody. See you on Monday. I'll share the assignments and the notebooks in the pages on the WeChat pages. Okay. All right. Goodbye, everyone.